So this is the second session of the explanation of the advice given to Lhawanga Tashija by Jamgöna Kongtrula Lodröja Thayeja, which we are going to receive in order to bring all sentient beings to enlightenment.
In sedaj bomo prijeli to učenje, zato da bi vsem čutečim bitjem pomagali, da pridejo do razsvetljenja.
So first, good afternoon to everyone.
Najprej lepo pozdravljeni.
That's how it is done here.
Dober dan. To je običajno, da se pozdravimo najprej tukaj pri vas.
So, with anything that we talk about, there are always two sides to it. There is the positive side and the negative side.
Ima pozitivno plat in negativno plat.
So that's why during this morning session we talked about examining our speech and examining our mind.
Pazimo, opazujemo svoj govor in opazujemo svoj um.
So now we reached the third verse, which says the mind is the root of faults and the mouth is the gateway for these faults to emerge. Thus always watch over both.
Zato je treba zmeraj biti pozoren in paziti na um in na govor.
So, as we said, all three, our body, speech and mind, they have we can look at it from the positive side or from the negative side. So this verse is looking at it from the negative side, because it's talking about the faults. So we all talk about the mind, everything about this is mind, that is mind, mind is like this, mind is like that. But actually, if we want to really define what is our mind, it is very difficult to point out what exactly is our mind. So yeah. So our mind, our capacity to perceive the mind is something like being in the dark with our eyes closed and just kind of feeling what is around us. So we can feel that there is something, but it is very difficult to understand exactly what we are touching, what we are feeling and like this. So when we are trying to understand our mind, it is a little bit like that. We can kind of, we know something is there, but what is there and how it is very difficult to pinpoint or to express.
Izraziti.
So in Buddhism, the definition of the mind is what is clear and aware, clarity and awareness.
Se pravi jasnina in zavedanje. Te dve lastnosti ima.
So this kind of So he says this is kind of defining the main characteristics of the mind. That the mind is clear and aware. But then when we look at our mind, what is our mind? And we say, okay, our mind is clear and aware. If we look like that, probably most of us will not see it in that way. So we will come to this conclusion, probably I don't have a mind. So we look at awareness and clarity, quite difficult. I don't think it's even, I don't think it's there. I probably don't have a mind. So it seems that in our experience, we experience our mind different from what the mind actually is. But for example, if we talk about the sky and we say the sky is blue and the sky is clear, but for example, when the weather is completely foggy and there is clouds and a storm going on and thunder and everything, it is a bit difficult for us to say, oh yes, I see the blue and clear sky. So the mind has two characteristics, as we said. One is clarity, one is awareness. So what is more difficult for you to... Okay, so let's say first both of them are difficult to comprehend, clarity and awareness. Okay, so let's say both are difficult. But among the two kinds of difficulty, which one is more difficult to perceive, clarity or awareness?
Ali doumeti jasnino ali zavedanje? Večinski odgovor se zdi, da je bil jasnina.
He said for him it's not one or the other, both are a bit fuzzy.
Pravi, za njega je oboje enako težko, ni eno ali drugo.
So if he says maybe it's true, maybe the clarity is more difficult to see.
Težje videti, težje doumeti.
Why is it difficult?
Zakaj je to težko?
Say it.
Yeah. Because we don't have it. We have so many other things.
For me, awareness is easier because...
Pravi, da je zavedanje selma zanjo lažje doumeti, ker če gledam preteklost v svojem življenju, se zmeraj spomnim nekih trenutkov, ko sem se zavedala, ko sem vedela, da se zavedam. Za jasnino pa ne moram reči tako natančno.
Moram misliti, da ta žikpa, jo pa sem njamnjo jaz.
Ali žikpa jo pa ti?
Ina salwa yo pa de tak karimba en hako Mendoza.
Ale, timde kande sine. Tel ti chikular ba.
Re de chikular.
Pena cherangi ngene sawa se de kande chilab yesana.
So how do you understand the clarity?
In kako lahko doumeš, kako ti vidiš jasnino? Mislimo, da je zavedanje lažje doumeti, pravi spet Špela. Med učenji zvemo več o zavedanju, potem mogoče imamo jasnino, pa tega sploh ne vemo, ne prepoznamo.
Ta salwa de ganso yona yang pa che hako gyo samare salwa kareimba hako gyo samare ganso.
Ale, re.
Tene sunjo nang la pa che de rikpa korla si du tense dan rikpa korla ra.
Re. Ale. Please, yeah.
I perceive clarity as consequences of awareness.
Jaz vidim jasnino kot posledico zavedanja.
Rikpa yona de ne salwa yang yongires. Moran git nyamnyon la la. Tene digi tangbo rikpa dan tense dan den ro chik ta nyamlen chena tene salwa kale chagire digi. Jebu dabo. Tense gi jebu tene salwa ro chagire.
Tanga ta samno chik lep sora. Raba. Ta tangbo ngaso rikpa se dan sawa se kari ma tes tangbo hakona. Raba. Tene ngaso te shena. Tes ta lep sara.
So it seems now he had the thought that maybe first we have to understand what is the awareness and what is the clarity. Then we can talk about it.
Zavedanje in kaj je jasnina. Potem bomo lahko razpravljali in razmišljali o tem.
Then we will see which one is more difficult.
Potem bomo videli, katero je teže za doumeti.
Okay, so please. Yeah, he feels it's beneficial if we think about it.
Misli, da je dobro, če o tem
the best way is to express it, because everybody has to look at their own experience,
vsak mora pogledati v svojo izkušnjo in jo opisati.
Me? Maybe our mistake is that we think clarity is only when mind is clean, there is nothing else.
Čist, da ni ničesar drugega, da nima vsebine.
Salwa de namdo medu salwa da chagi do samgiya sara digi gonor da boyasare sam.
Ale namdo medi kaso sawa imba. Namdo me batele ba.
I think our understanding of clarity is when there's no thoughts, but actually this is not what clarity is if we really think about it. So I think that's one. And about awareness,
in kar se tiče zavedanja,
I think it's also, awareness is easier to understand because either we're aware or we're not.
Lažje razumeti, ali se zavedamo ali se pa ne, mogoče to lažje. Kakšna je razlika? Kakšna je razlika med zavedanjem in jasnino?
Now he's thinking also.
Zdaj tudi on razmišlja.
Okay, so let's talk about clarity first. What is it?
Potem povemo najprej, kaj je jasnina.
I think clarity. Yeah, like you say, the clear sky is when there's no clouds, right? You don't say it's clear sky when the clouds are there, right? I think that's why.
Takrat ne rečemo, da je jasno nebo, kadar so oblaki, mogoče to povzroča.
But in our mind, actually clarity is everything.
Ampak v našem umu je pa jasnina vse.
Everything that appears in our mind appears because of clarity.
Vse, kar se pojavi v našem umu, se pojavi zaradi jasnine. Kadar je zavedanje, je tudi jasnina. Ali imamo lahko jasnino brez zavedanja? Ali ne morate biti ena brez druge, ne morate? Rinpoče pravi,
I think we think clarity is when there's no thoughts, but actually I think our mind is a little bit like a mirror, and everything appearing in the mirror is the clarity. So all appearances are the clarity, not
vse pojavi,
empty
so
mind
jasnina,
without thoughts. I
ne
think it's
brez misli.
different.
In zato
Understanding of this that you're just a mirror or
the hagoarbe in a country.
사와세다. 뭐랑 선나다 사와세다 하고와.
Hagoa in Sigiresa.
사와세다 하고와와.
Lasa.
되네? 되네? 셴바?
Okay, somebody else?
ja, še kdo.
From my experience, awareness is a source of
Zame zavedanje neke vrste
physical quite experience.
fizične izkušnje.
It's a state of mind in the sense that
In jasnina je stanje uma, ki razume,
when I am completely centered,
ko sem popolnoma osredotočena, ozemljena, da ni nobenega razmišljanja, ampak je prisotnost. In neka resnična prisotnost.
And that's clarity, or?
In ali je to jasnina? Ja, meni se zdi, da je to jasnina, pravi Kjara, ker je to, kot da je moje celo bitje tam v tistem trenutku prisotno. In počutim se celo, kot del celote. Da nimam misli konceptualnih, ampak vse neposredno skušam stvari okoli sebe.
To mora njega še gidu. Žigpa dan salvara, in tec. Salva, moram gi govola, salva sedu, ta mikse nam to mambo medu, te ne, sama džigijo pa da ocordu, da?
Ale.
Čik dima džigpa, džigpa ingba, da čik.
제가 지바를 들어봐.
So maybe similar what I was saying.
Nekaj podobnega, kot je Wangmo povedala. Ali obstaja druga beseda za jasnino?
Better clarity. Let's just stick to clarity.
Ja, držimo se zdaj besede jasnine. Učitelji včasih rečejo jasnina, včasih sijoči um.
Yeah, so sometimes luminosity is different than clarity.
Včasih se sijoči um razlikuje
luminosity
od
is sometimes the word for the clear light.
Luminosity je sijoči um,
I mean the word, the term has to do with light.
Svetloba je izraz za čisto svetlobo. Kako veš, če se zavedaš ali če se ne zavedaš?
Actually, a little bit confusion is that in English we use the same word awareness for Rigpa and also for the
besedo zavedanje za Rigpa in za dve tibetanski besedi uporabljamo angliščino awareness, ki je zavedanje.
Ta Chenche Yopa da Mebaro, Chenche Yodu Kandes Hako Gere, Santo Hako Yomaresa, Chenche Yome Hako Maras.
지당 기나서 베케기 릭바세 줘라. 릭세 줘라. 릭세디 가서 가서 통세다 줄 거고요. 통.
So maybe the word Rigpa is more like knowingness. Because otherwise if we use the same word then it's a little bit confusing. So actually in Tibetan it means also to see. So it's kind of knowing, the knowing quality and the clear quality of the mind.
Se pravi, vedeti, ta kvaliteta vedenja in obenem jasnine, to je pomen besede Rigpa.
It's also, Rig means like knowing,
Rig pomeni
and Rigpa is the knower.
Je tisti,
so it's more like that.
Vedoča stvar,
so maybe it's good to differentiate between knowing and between awareness, even though it is very similar also.
Se pravi, dobro razlikovati med tema dvema, med Rigpo pa med awarenessom. Med Rigpo in zavedanjem.
I think you see it like similar, yeah? What's the difference between knowing and awareness or like this?
Kakšna je razlika potem med kvaliteto vedenja in
no, it's more like Jampa or Jenshe. Yeah, it's like mindfulness, the same word. Yeah.
Rwa, Re. Tadi sawa kola chasma, Rwa.
Ta Sarvadan Ripa Čečetansara. He says we could not talk about clarity without talking about awareness.
Nismo mogli
We
govoriti
mixed them all both
o
up together.
jasnini, ne, da bi govorili še o zavedanju zraven. Ja.
Ngayang sepuji haku kumindo. Sawa Ripa sejura, Re.
He says for him it's also
Za njega je
difficult to
tudi
define
težko
exactly what is
točno definirati,
clarity, what is
kaj je jasnina,
knowingness.
kaj je to vedenje ali kvaliteta uma, ki ve.
Iyada nga zo pena ta nimala yorwa. Nimala che taki suri jik suma nanshi sawa da ripa ni ta jik yo na jik yo ba jik me na jik me ba dawo jik le yorwa.
So some of us said they're connected, yeah? The knowingness and the clarity. If there is knowingness, there is clarity. If there is clarity, there is knowingness,
če je vedenje, je
So
tudi,
maybe,
je tudi jasnina, in če je jasnina, je
Because
tudi
now
vedenje.
we can
To je
all
ta
see, right?
kvaliteta uma, ki ve.
Nima ke chile jirwa, mare.
And why can we see?
Zakaj
Because of the
vidimo?
sun, the light
Zaradi
from the
sonca,
sun.
zaradi svetlobe sonca.
Nga zo yang tos da cawa in sikidwa.
And maybe we also feel a little bit hot, right?
In
Because of,
potem nam je zaradi sonca lahko tudi malo toplo.
Yang nima ke ko
Vroče.
chile jirwa.
this is also one of the
Re.
activities of the sun.
In to je
To bring warmth.
ena od funkcij sonca, da prinaša toploto.
Salshi wekpa. Ta chidangi rikpa sedi kapso nga so ka ta chi korang la rikpa sedi kapso. Tagi nawa nashi thongya labro, jirwa.
Yeah, so Rigpa or knowingness
Rikpa
is something
ali
like
ki ve,
like seeing, like knowing something.
ki vidi, je kot vedeti.
Di korang la pena nga son di ta nyugu yorwa. Nyugu thongwa sine labyo marwa. Jirwa.
And we're not talking about seeing
In
like a
tukaj ne
pen.
govorimo o gledanju, kot recimo zdaj, ko vidimo to pero ali zunanje stvari.
Samana chapdo gudwadi. Samana chapa nang shiri, tsi korang ni badi.
So even the word Rig
Že
in
sama
Tibetan, when
beseda
we use
Rig v
it for seeing,
tibetaščini,
it
ko jo
doesn't mean
uporabljamo za
seeing
gledanje,
something,
ne
one
pomeni, da
thing.
vidimo
It means
nekaj,
seeing
ampak pomeni,
everything that we see.
da vse vidimo, da vidimo vse naenkrat.
So, yeah.
Border se bo.
So there's no limit to
Zato
the
ni
word.
nobenih omejitev.
Jirwa.
Rig.
Jirwa. No limit, jirwa. Ina yang samsam ta no limit chasuna. Yang kasi yang over jayo mare la yendo. Over chasung da yendo. Tinde kecha yora yang.
But sometimes when there's
Ampak
no
včasih, kadar
limit,
ni
we also feel
nobenih,
it's too much. It's
omejitev,
too
kadar je
vast.
stvar prezmejna, se nam lahko zdi preveč prostrana.
Pena ta nga mi dukja jina, beda. Nga mi dukja jina chishura.
So if Rinpoche is a really bad person
In Rinpoče pravi, da je res,
and also very powerful.
če bi bil zelo slaba oseba in zelo močna oseba,
So if he has the power to
in
do
če bi
anything
imel
he
moč,
wants
da bi
in this
naredil, kar
country,
hoče,
for example.
recimo pri nas, v tej deželi, v Sloveniji,
okay, let's not only this country, let's
a
say the
ne
whole
samo v tej
world.
deželi, na celem svetu, da bi imel moč na celem svetu,
So that's a lot of power, right?
in to je velika moč, kaj ne?
So so power, let's say he has all the
recimo,
power,
da ima
but
vso
then the
moč,
question is,
na
what is he
tem
going to use
svetu,
it for?
ampak potem je vprašanje, zakaj bo uporabil to moč.
If there is no limit to
Če
his
ni,
power,
nobenih
do you
meja
think he's going to
njegovi
use it
moči.
for something good?
Ali mislite, da bo uporabil za nekaj dobrega?
So he has the power
Da
both
ima
to do
moč
very good
narediti
and to do
zelo
very
dobro
bad.
in zelo slabe stvari.
So it's sometimes difficult to say if it is good or not good, because like even if somebody has lots of power, you cannot say just somebody having lots of power is necessarily bad or is necessarily good. It depends on what you use it for. So if our mind only has this limitless power, so even this capacity or power of our mind, we also cannot say necessarily if it is good or bad. So this is his understanding.
Pravi, to tako on razume, Rinpoče tako razume.
And if we say the mind does not have only knowingness, it also has the clarity.
Nima samo te kvalitete, da ve, ampak ima tudi jasnino.
And maybe that is because our essence is the Buddha nature.
Naše bistvo Budova narava.
So the Buddha nature, it has limitless power, but here we're not only talking about power. The Buddha nature has only the power, the capacity for good. It is absolute goodness.
To je temeljno, absolutno dobro.
So let's say he doesn't see, he doesn't have eyes.
Recimo, da ne vidi. Rinpoče pravi, recimo, da ne vidi.
So if he goes like this, probably he will reach the door eventually.
Se tipa bo lahko verjetno prišel do vrat.
So he has the capacity to reach the door.
Ima zmožnost priti do vrat, do izhoda.
He's quite sure, he's 100% sure that he will reach there somehow, but maybe when he goes off the throne, he will fall off.
Da bi lahko prišel tja do vrat, lahko pa da bo medtem
hit his head on the way.
Se zvrnil s trona in se udaril v glavo. Ampak prepričan je, da bi lahko prišel do vrat.
And even if he doesn't hit his head, it's the danger that he will hit some of us while he's trying to reach the door.
O glavo se lahko zleti v nas, medtem ko poskuša priti do vrat.
So this shows that even if we have the power or the capacity, if we do not know the way how to go, or if we do not see, if we do not know how to reach the door, for example, then we don't know, then it can have the positive effect or negative effect, because we do not have the knowing or the seeing.
Ker nimamo te zmožnosti vedenja ali videnja, lahko pridemo do vrat, ampak vmes se lahko udarimo ali zletimo v koga.
So maybe we can say the knowingness is the kind of the capacity or the function of the mind, and the clarity is the essence of the mind. So kind of the nature or the essence of this knowingness.
Tega vedenja.
Dameki yorba de lago mareta sawa se kanta jata ta sawa se dikas hanam dise dikas ta chi nonchu yong se para usita tindi chi kwale na pachin tiki yere tinga na sana.
So maybe we can say the clarity is kind of the positive quality of the mind, the positive essence of the mind. It is the quality of the mind which can never do anything negative, which can never do anything bad. And the awareness or the knowingness is this kind of function or this capacity of the mind. So this is his understanding, or his thinking. So for him, for example, he was born into Buddhism. He grew up in Buddhism. So the Buddhist philosophy and he has been soaked in it for his whole life.
Ga prežema že celo življenje.
So he is asking, before we learned Buddhism, before we became interested in Buddhism, how did we understand our mind? What is the non-Buddhist the understanding of mind in which we grew up? He's asking, do we even talk about mind?
Sprašuje, ali se sploh pogovarjamo o umu tukaj na Zahodu.
So?
To je zmožnost, da mislimo in da zaznavamo.
So Rinpoche also asked, did we think that our mind is our feelings, our emotions, or like that?
Istovetimo z našimi občutki in čustvi. Ja.
Sem latado Tsorwa, Tsonang, Namdo, Nyomon, so they similar. So the Tibetan word salwa, which is clarity.
Salva, ki pomeni jasnino.
상보 학과서고 말했다 근데 이제는 뒤집고 마인 봐. 싸와 라비운데 그 세미나를 초화지 여러 봐. 그래서 랑싱게 돼. 르싱이 차야라. 즉 그런 게 네버지 여다. 싸와서 있는 거래.
So Rinpoche feels that the clarity is not only what he was talking about before, like this, the natural capacity of the mind to be good, but even when we say the word clarity, it has the power to make our mind relax, kind of. When we say, okay, our mind is clear, then our mind kind of relaxes. So, do you have anything? Yeah, anything else you would like to share about your understanding of? Yeah.
Jaz bi rekel, da je zahodno razumevanje uma, da ima dve zmožnosti. Ena zmožnost je intuicija. Intuicija je nekaj, kar uporabljamo zato, da vidimo z umom za stvari, ki obstajajo v času in prostoru. In druga zmožnost je razumevanje, ki je povezano, ki je zmožnost abstraktnega razumevanja, da lahko vidimo skozi koncepte, skozi pojme, se pravi intuicijo in pojmovno razumevanje. In oba sta kriterij, če nekaj resnično obstaja, je v zahodni tradiciji to, da vidimo ali razumemo nekaj jasno in da lahko to, da imamo jasno razlikovanje, pojmovno razlikovanje. Zato je tudi tukaj v zahodnem razumevanju obstaja tudi neko pojmovanje jasnine, jasnosti, obstaja neka podobnost ali povezava s tem, kar ste vi govorili in tem, kar jaz vem, poznam iz svoje tradicije.
Čigegi govala, de semla da življenje, čig de da ti pač žigba dobro, da sama žig tuvia da ne dobro. Čig de namto samlo tang tuvia ro. Samlo taegi nyubaro, tene samlo tang tune, tene samlo takta tangna, tene salcha dang, tene takta yimpa yang hago waro, ngonchina hago waro. Chik rigpa chik goa ro di dabo so tene dabo samlo tangna, tene di nangpegi deshe gyaptang da chigegi ta ngonegi deshe gyaptang nyimba de dabo so.
Tene ga ore tene injere. Tene maso namji ta nangpegi ro nangpegi shiba namshi ende ga so sashi rigpa se ende ga so ba. Pena ta di glass tingi hago yoro. Nandela sashi rigpa chatsa warta. Sashi rigpa reta, ro.
So in Buddhism, when we talk about knowingness and clarity, once we perceive something which is in front of us, then we have both. We know what it is and we perceive it clearly, right? So both are present.
Jasno vidimo in vemo, da je to, kar gledamo, prisotno.
But the way we explain how our mind has the knowing and the qualities of knowingness and clarity, we do not explain it based on external appearances like glass of water. We always explain it in terms of looking at the mind and the qualities of the mind itself. So it makes sense only when we look at the mind, the consciousness itself. It doesn't make that much sense when we look outside.
Kadar gledamo navznoter, sam ko opazujemo.
Yeah, the thing is because the external objects or appearances or everything, they're always changed. And then if we try to understand those through knowingness and clarity, because they're changing all the time and because there are so many other factors involved, it becomes very confusing. But if we look into the mind and we see the clarity and knowingness of the mind itself, that's very clear, that's not confusing. But if we try to determine the clarity and knowingness through external objects, there are so many factors involved, so many reasonings, so many conditions, circumstances and everything. It is difficult to reach these qualities of knowingness and clarity because we will just become more confused.
Jasno videnje, ker nas lahko različne dejavniki, ki so povezani z zaznavanjem zunanjih predmetov, samo zmedejo.
So this kind of shows that the mind is not under the control of the external circumstances, which we sometimes perceive, but the mind has its own capacity, its own, it's kind of its own independence of external circumstances.
Neodvisen od zunanjih okoliščin.
So that's why here when we say the mind is root of faults, is the root of all faults, we're not talking from the point of view of the capacity of the mind, of the knowingness and the clarity of the mind.
Vedenja in jasnine uma.
카카미야기다 데 카카미야다 지 통해 줘와 파주디 tes luti 지기도와 레 luti 지기도와 레
So Rinpoche says when the text is also meant to make us think, to deceive us into thinking that, like to make us analyze how things truly are. It's like if we are thirsty when somebody gives us a glass of water.
Kadar smo žejni in nam nekdo da kozarec vode.
But it's not talking about the positive qualities of the mind, of knowingness and clarity.
Ta vers ne govori o pozitivnih kvalitetah uma, kot sta videnje, vedenje in jasnina.
So in the Buddhist philosophy we talk about three causes for negative states of mind to arise. So the first is ignorance or not knowing.
To, da ne vemo, nevednost.
And then out of this ignorance then arises this kind of attachment. It is kind of, the ignorance is the immediate condition which produces attachment. Like the next step is automatically being attached to something that we like.
Avtomatsko pojavi navezanost na nekaj, kar nam je všeč.
Yeah, so the third one is kind of the object. So the first is the ignorance in the mind, then there is this connection between the mind and the object, which is attachment, and then there is the object. So these three things have to come together. So if these three are not present, then negative states of mind cannot arise. So for this, Gampopa gave an instruction. Drupasan govora, ten tarpečim marva, tarpagi. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. Yeah. Okay. So Gampopa said that for beginners, for us who immediately when we see something, our mind is ready to react. Like we are very, we don't have any space between seeing something and reacting. So for us, the negative states of mind are something we have to avoid, we have to run away from. It is not something we have to fight. And when are we ready to kind of to fight with our emotions is when we achieve a calm abiding state of mind, like shamatha, then the emotions we can deal with them. So there was one story in Tibet. There was one meditator, so he was just sitting in meditation very peacefully, and then some person came and asked them, what are you doing? And then he said, I'm practicing patience.
Potem je rekel, prakticiram potrpežljivost.
And then the person said, oh, okay, if you're practicing patience, great. Then he just took a stick and hit him on the head.
Če pa treniraš potrpežljivost, v redu, in je vzel palico in ga udaril po glavi. In ta človek, ki je meditiral, je tako vstal. In se razjezil.
So this shows that that person was a beginner. He was really trying to practice patience, to meditate on patience. But he was not able to. When it came to really putting it into practice, he was not able to do it.
Tega ni zmogel, se je razjezil.
But if somebody is really able to practice patience truly, wholeheartedly, then even if somebody comes and hits them on the head, that will just become a kind of a condition which makes their practice of patience become stronger. It will enhance their practice.
Ki bi ojačala njihovo prakso potrpežljivosti, poglobila njihovo prakso potrpežljivosti.
So that's why it says the mind is the root of faults.
Tekst, da je
and the mouth is the gateway for these faults to emerge.
In usta so vrata, skozi katere se te napake potem izrazijo.
Thus always watch over both.
Zato zmeraj bodite pozorni na oboje, na govor in na um.
But when we say that we have to watch our mouth, watch our speech, you know, if that means just to stop anything that we think from coming out of our mouth, that's quite difficult.
Tisto, kar se dogaja našemu umu, da bi prišlo skozi naša usta, to je kar težko. To je zelo težko.
So he says this is like what we talked this morning about habits. We have to build the habit of not saying negative things, and then we have to build it gradually and slowly, and after a while it will become difficult for us to say something negative, and after a while we will not even wish to do it anymore. But actually the main thing is the mind, because if we are able to keep a very positive attitude in our mind towards everything, then our speech will not even feel like saying something negative. So Rinpoche says if his mind is positive and kind, even if he's scolding somebody, they will like it.
Ko bo nekoga okaral, bo ta oseba vesela.
But if his mind is not kind or positive, even if he says some nice things,
tudi kadar bo lepo govoril,
and even if he says with his mind, oh, you're so great,
in tudi če bo rekel z besedami, to je bilo zelo dobro,
but it will not have the desired effect, because the mind was not
takega učinka, pravega učinka, ker je ni bil pravilno naravnan.
So the previous Jamgöna Kongtrula Rinpoche, the third Jamgöna Kongtrula Rinpoche, once he was giving a teaching about bodhicitta.
Enkrat učil o bodhicitti.
And when he was giving this teaching, then he said one instruction that he gave is do not give up on any sentient being.
Nikoli ne pustite na cedilu nobenega čutečega bitja.
And when he said these words, some people in the audience, they experienced something like an earthquake, the earth shaking, like that's how powerful these words were.
Tresla zemlja, tako močne so bile te besede.
Not only one person,
but many
people
več
in the
ljudi je
audience.
začutilo ta čutek, kot da bi se zatresla zemlja ob teh besedah.
So after the teaching, then one person mentioned that, and then another said, "Yeah, me too," and another said, "Yeah, something happened to me too. I also felt something." So, and then when they compared the experience, everybody had a very similar experience of kind of feeling like these words, they shook the entire
občutek, da so te besede stresle celo zemljo.
So what does this show? It shows the mind of the person saying the words, the difference between how powerful it is if somebody really has bodhicitta and says that.
Nekdo, ki ima zares bodhicitta in izgovori nekaj takega, potem imajo besede tako moč.
But he says, if we keep saying, you know, do not give up on any sentient beings, even if we repeat it 10 times, nothing will happen. So both the speaker and the listener will only hear words.
Govorici in poslušalec boste slišali samo, kako besede odzvanjajo v prostoru.
And then the text continues saying, all of samsara and nirvana are your own mind.
Vsa samsara in nirvana izhaja iz vašega uma. Ali vsa samsara in nirvana sta vaš lastni um.
So what is he saying? That both samsara and nirvana are only states of mind.
Sta samo stanje uma.
Nangbi timo mai ba chichu chi kare resana nangbi lola ta chi ki soso ki dedu kama ka ta to sana kowa da thaba sena ma se kan dewa da dunga labu ar mare te ndiga te ki chebo chama de da soso rani la ra le bare ma to chi ki yen sushi ki tende ki zoba bo tende yo mare se go da de nangbi timo mai be ta du timo mai ba de
so this shows the uncommon view of the Buddhism, which says that both samsara and nirvana and also all the suffering and happiness, they depend on our own mind. They are created by ourselves and we have the power over them. So this is like an uncommon view of Buddhism, which means that nobody is able to create suffering or happiness for us from outside. We have the power over everything.
Sreče ali trpljenja, mi imamo moč za to.
So some people might feel that this is kind of contradicts with the way we practice. We practice different deities, we request different Buddhas or deities for blessings and like this. So some might feel that this is a contradiction. So if everything depends on us, why do we have to practice some kind of external deities?
Ki je povezano z zunanjimi božanstvimi.
Semgi samotangtan jovan royata semgi nepade chertanyada semdi chi o chi yorwa tindrila music ta chembo yorde so music ta japjur se gore ko semla pe power da mason shoji ta tegi yorwa pena ta push se gore ta mare sen ho tindri pe tegi yorde so.
But in a way what we can say is that they do not have the power to transform the mind from outside, but actually they have the power to help us to transform our own mind, to help us to reveal the whole power of our mind. So it's kind of a support which comes from outside for us, for ourselves to be able to do it.
Prihaja od zunaj, ampak je podpora, da mi sami potem to lahko naredimo.
So, for example, when you talk about mantras, it is said that even if somebody is not a Buddhist, if they just recite certain mantras, they will attain the powers connected with that mantra.
Lahko pridobili moči, ki so povezane s to mantro.
So this year, maybe about a month ago, somebody Rinpoche knows who usually says that they're not Buddhist.
Ki ponovadi pravi ta človek, da ni budist.
And that person said
ta oseba je
that they don't have any suffering in their lives.
Da v njihovem življenju ni nobenega trpljenja.
But then he told this person, okay, doesn't matter, maybe this year, within this year, you can try to accumulate 10,000 mantras of Tara and 10,000 recitations of the mantra of Guru Rinpoche.
Mantre Tare in 10,000 recitacije mantre Guru Rinpoche.
And then Rinpoche was very surprised to hear that he completed 10,000 Tara mantras in 1 month.
V enem mesecu zbral 10,000 ponovitev recitacije Tara mantre.
So about two days ago he told him, okay, now I will start the Guru Rinpoche mantra.
Je rekel, zdaj bom začel še z mantro Guru Rinpoche. So that obviously shows that even if the person does not consider themselves a Buddhist, they felt the power of the mantra they were reciting, right? Otherwise, why would they complete the numbers, or why would they even wish to start a new one? Recitirali toliko ponovitev ene mantre in potem začeli z recitacijo druge mantre.
But he told him out of pure motivation, without any strings attached, to do that.
Iz čiste motivacije, iz nobenim pogojem.
Not caring whether he would listen or not, whether he would do it or not.
Da ni razmišljal, da ga mora ta oseba poslušati.
But he had a very strong feeling in his mind that if he does, he recites this mantra, it will benefit him 100%, even though he doesn't know even how Tara looks like, he doesn't do any visualization or anything.
Čeprav ne ve, kako izgleda Tara in ne pozna nobenih molitev in ničesar.
He told before, if he has some kind of strong idea in his mind, he cannot stop but say it. So that time it was also like that.
Mora ustaviti, da tega ne izreče na glas, in zato je tudi tej osebi predlagal, da recitira mantre.
He said actually it's not easy for him to say to somebody who is not Buddhist they should recite the Tara mantra.
Popolnoma lahko reči nekomu, ki tudi ni budist, naj recitira Tara mantro.
But since he had this certainty in his mind that this would benefit him for sure, he said he didn't care whether the person would do it or not, what the person would think, he just said it.
Ali kaj bo mislil, ko mu to reče, ampak je samo rekel.
So then the text continues. As the first line was, all of samsara and nirvana are your own mind. They don't arise from anything else in the slightest. Everything, such as joy and suffering, good and bad, high and low, are the conceptual constructs of the mind. If your mind is pure, you are Buddha. Wherever you reside is a pure realm. Whatever you do is from the state of the dharmata. Whatever appears is the jewel display of wisdom.
Če je čist, potem si Buddha. Kjerkoli si, je to čista dežela, karkoli narediš, je to stanje dharmate, izraz dharmate, karkoli se pojavi, je kot
So this last
modrosti.
So this last verse
Zadnji
speaks about what happens when the mind is positive and when the mind is pure. And then the next verse speaks about what happens when the mind is negative. It says, if your mind is of an impure nature, you will see faults even in the Buddhas. You will get angry even at your parents. Most things will appear as if they were your enemies.
In večina stvari se ti bo prikazovala, kot da so to tvoji sovražniki.
So even while the Buddha Shakyamuni was still alive,
Shakyamuni še živ,
so we feel that if Buddha Shakyamuni walked into this room and was here in front of us, we feel that it's impossible that we would see faults in Buddha Shakyamuni. But even while the Buddha was still alive, it was not like that. There were many who saw his qualities, and there were many who also saw his faults. So during the Buddha's life, the caste system was very important in India. It was something most important aspect of their society. So the Buddha, if during that time somebody says we are all equal, there is no caste, there is no difference between high and low and like this, he feels that when the Buddha said such things, people probably saw him as a terrorist. Most people would just run away because he said something so controversial, so much against the society of that time.
V nasprotju z družbo tistega časa, s predstavami.
So people would just label him as a terrorist and they would run away because he says in these days when he calls somebody a terrorist, there is no question whether that person is good or bad or anything.
Če nekomu rečemo, da je terorist, potem se sploh ne sprašujemo več o tem, je to neka dobra ali slaba oseba.
But what it shows, the way people reacted to when he said that, it shows that he really said this out of care and concern for everyone, because nobody perceived it as something negative. Everybody saw the truth of what he was saying, so it just shows his pure motivation in saying that. He did not have any self-interest in saying that. He did not say it for his own benefit. He just was thinking of the benefit of all the people around him.
Dobrobiti za vse ljudi okoli njega.
So it says here, you'll get angry even at your parents.
Razjezili se boste celo na vaše starše.
So these days, the way we look at parents in Eastern or Western cultures and so forth, there are many different perceptions. And each person has different perception themselves. But in Buddhism, we consider parents as something very precious and sacred.
In dragocenih osebah.
So one reason why we say in the Buddhism that we have to care for all beings is because even if a person comes with whom we never met, whom we think we have no connection with, we have to care for them because they have been our mother in the past, our mother and father and everything, but especially we always talk about all beings being having been our mothers in the past. So usually in English we talk about all sentient beings, but in Tibetan they always add the word ma, which means all mother sentient beings, all sentient beings who have been our mothers.
Zlog ma, ki govorijo, da so to bile matere, se pravi govorijo o materah čutečih bitih, se pravi materah iz prejšnjih življenj.
So in general we treat all sentient beings the same, but especially the parents in this life are with them we have a very strong karmic connection, and that's why we also consider them as precious.
Pa imamo še posebno močno karmično povezavo, zato jih smatramo za zelo svete in dragocene.
So Rinpoche is also doing
Rinpoche
his best
pravi, da tudi dela vse po svojih najboljših
to value his parents and to see them as precious.
Videl svoje starše kot dragocene.
So now he's going to show you a secret.
In zdaj nam bo pokazal skrivnost.
This what he's wearing around his neck.
Tukaj je obesek, ki ga nosi okoli vratu.
This his mother gave this to him.
Ta obesek mu je dala njegova mama.
And we brought it. I brought it from Tibet for him.
Wang mu ga je prinesla iz Tibeta za njega.
And Rinpoche is always wearing this around his neck.
Nosi okoli vratu.
Except for when going to the washroom.
Razen potušem. So he says whenever he gives teachings or empowerments or everything, he always makes sure that he's wearing it, because he says sometimes when he goes for a shower or like this, he would take it off. So it can happen that for 1 hour or 2 he would forget to put it back on. Mogoče za kakšno uro ali dve ga nima na sebi, kadar ga pozabi spiti.
But when any activity that he does connected with the Dharma, then he will always wear this around his neck. He will make sure that he doesn't forget.
Rinpoche se potrudi, da ne pozabi na ta obesek.
So he considers this, because it was a gift from his mother, as very precious, not because it's precious as an object, but because it was given by his mother.
Ne kot stvar sama, ampak zaradi tega, ker mu je to podarila njegova mama.
So this is his experience.
To je njegova izkušnja.
So then the text continues. Expectation, fear, attachment and anger will continue unabated. Such useless things will waste your life away. So this line, such useless things will waste your life away, is very important.
Zaradi teh nesmiselnih stvari boste zapravili svoje življenje. To je zelo pomembna vrstica.
So he says some people are like that whatever they do, they think it's not good. It's not good to say this, it's not good to do this, it's not good to think like this or like this. They're always unhappy with themselves.
Ves čas so nesrečni, nikoli niso, ves čas so nezadovoljni sami sabo.
It is very important to
Zato je zelo
understand
pomembno razumeti
these two lines here.
te dve vrstice.
So if we think like this, it is also whomever you associate with, there will be discord. So you will not be happy in company, and also and wherever you stay, it will be uncomfortable. So even if you're by yourself, you feel uncomfortable if you look at yourself in that way.
Tudi če boste sami, se boste počutili neudobno, kadar
However
imate
much
take
you
negativne
own, you
misli
won't be
vse.
content. For everything you accumulate, you need that much more.
Kolikor boste imeli, ne boste nikoli zadovoljni s tem, in karkoli boste nabrali, se boste imeli zmeraj občutek, da rabite še več. Ali boste mislili, da potrebujete še veliko več.
So actually Rinpoche says from his own experiences he feels that contentment is very important. It's a very important foundation for having a happy life, being happy with what we have, not always looking for wanting this, wanting that, always being stuck in what we don't have, but appreciating what we have.
Zataknemo v tem, česar nimamo, ampak da znamo ceniti to, kar imamo.
And then it continues, being distracted again and again by the appearances of this life. Even if you think about practicing Dharma, you'll waste your life caught up in present activities.
Se boste zapravili svoje življenje, izgubljeni v vsakdanjih opravilih.
So if he shares his own experience about this.
Rinpoche pravi, da je njegova izkušnja v tem,
So in 2017 he received the Mahamudra transmission, and the homework for that was having to complete all the practices, the Mundro, preliminary practices and all the main practices of Mahamudra. The homework was to complete this in 3 years. But so he started with the preliminary practices, but he found out that even with the first preliminary practice, which is the prostrations, it was very difficult to complete it on time.
Je bilo zelo težko jo zaključiti do časa, ki jim je bil dan.
Rinpoche gave about 6 months of time to complete the whole, all the Guru Vajradhara gave about 6 months to complete all the preliminary practices, 100,000 of each.
Vse pripravljene prakse, 100,000 od vseh 4 praks, 100,000
But when he started doing prostrations, he felt it would take, that alone would take him at least 6 months.
Si je mislil, da bo jo že same prostracije zahtevalo vse 6 mesecev.
So he started worrying what to do, how can I finish the prostrations and all of that. But while worrying, he was not doing anything and the days were going by.
Ni počel ničesar in dnevi so minevali.
But then he felt that if he keeps doing that, forget about the main practices of Mahamudra, he will not be able even to complete the preliminary practices.
Glavne prakse Mahamudre, da bo tudi pripravljane prakse ne bo mogel končati.
But that also was not because he had a lot of work, he didn't have time to practice or anything like that.
Takrat veliko dela in ne bi mogel delati prakse. Imel je dovolj časa.
But what happened is being distracted again and again by the appearances of this life. Even if you think about practicing Dharma, you'll waste your life caught up in present activities. So it was due to being distracted in activities of this life, not because...
Se zgubiš v vsakodnevnih opravilih. zaradi teh skrbi in negativnih misli, skrbi, strahov in pričakovanj.
So then he was really worried and he says,
Potem je bil res zaskrbljen in je rekel, kaj naj storim, kaj naj storim.
I waste time talking to everybody. When I come to my room, I waste time on my phone.
Ko pridem domov, zapravljam čas s telefonom.
And then he realized that unless he goes into retreat, he does this practice in retreat, he will never be able to finish.
Ne bo nikoli mogel končati te prakse.
So then he talked to one of his friends and he gave him the SIM card from his phone and says, please you keep that.
SIM kartico iz svojega telefona in je rekel, obdrži to. Potem ni imel interneta.
But at that time he was not in retreat.
Ampak takrat ni bil v retreatu.
But first he just got rid of his SIM card.
Ampak najprej si znebil SIM kartice, da ni imel več interneta.
And then after he also did the retreat.
In potem je šel v retreat.
And then in only 2 months of time he completed all the remaining prostrations and did all the 3 other preliminary practices 100,000 times each.
Pripravljanje prakse za vsako 100,000 ponovitev. So then the next part says, at first, when you feel a sense of renunciation, you feel like you could be rid of each and everything you own. Once you become intractable, you'll cling even to needles. Vsega, kar ste kdaj imeli, ko pa ta občutek zbledi, se boste vklepali celo svojih šivank.
So this, he notices this also, especially in people who become monks or nuns at the beginning.
Na začetku.
So he notices those who become monks and nuns at the beginning, even in their room they will wear the chogo, the ceremonial robe, and they will not sit like this because that's not proper. They will have to sit like this. So actually you have to wear like this, yeah. So they will wear everything properly.
Zelo natančno.
So when he's sitting like that, it's actually not really appropriate.
Rinpoče, tako kot je zdaj, sedi ni pravilno, ker nima ogrenjala čez ramo. Pravi, da je sproščen in zdaj sedi na ta bolj sproščen način, ampak tisti začetniki menihi in nune so bili zelo zavzeti, da počnejo vse pravilno.
So the beginner monks and nuns usually they feel like, yeah, I have to really follow the discipline 100% and I will not even eat dinner. So actually it's true, the monks, nuns usually don't eat dinner, but that's not that's not so strict. But they decide, okay, now I'm a monk, now I'm a nun, I'm not going to eat dinner because that's what the Buddha said.
Začetniki potem rečejo, ne bom jedel večerje, ker je to tako je Buddha zapovedal.
They want to do everything at the same time.
Vse hočejo narediti naenkrat.
But when we look at our life, day by day, we will not be able to uphold that.
Vsak dan sproti, potem nam vsega tega ne bo uspelo se držati vseh teh stvari, ki smo si jih zadali.
So usually he says to new monks and nuns, don't be too strict, you don't need to follow all the vows, all the rules, just keep the main 3 or 4 vows that you need to keep and then don't worry too much about the rest.
Držite se glavnih pravil, ki se jih morate držati in ne bodite preveč obremenjeni, preveč strogi z vsemi ostalimi pravili. In potem je tudi reče v teh časih, če lahko držite 4 glavne zaobljube, potem ste tako ste enaki Budišaki Munja.
So he says, even in Tibet it's like that, even lay people, when they start practicing Dharma, at the beginning they want to do everything at the same time. And then at the end they end up doing nothing.
Potem na koncu ne naredijo nič.
So then the second part, which says, at first, when you feel a sense of devotion, you won't think of anyone except your guru. After a while, you'll have wrong views.
Ampak čez nekaj časa boste imeli napačne poglede.
So that's why he says, when we are looking for a guru, we have to do it properly, examine properly, because if we just follow our feelings or emotion and we just, the first guru that we meet, that kind of we feel some kind of inspiration or everything, and then we just decide, yeah, that's it, that's my guru, then we might end up having wrong views at the end. So that's why it is important to examine the guru properly before deciding to follow them.
Določenega učitelja, guruja, preden se odločimo, da mu bomo sledili.
So it also says, at first, when you feel a sense of faith, your spiritual practice will pile up one on top of the other.
Bo vaša praksa, boste delali veliko različnih praks, duhovnih praks.
Because actually, when we look at practice, if we're able to do one practice properly, that's enough. We do not need to do any other practices on top of that. What is important is to do one properly.
Kar pomembno je, da delamo eno prakso na pravilen način.
So it's quite common that when we first encounter the Dharma and then we feel, oh yeah, this is very good, that thing is also very interesting, oh I want to practice that too, this is very good, so we just kind of we just pile them one on top of another.
Nakopičemo različne prakse in načine.
And at the end we stop doing all of them.
Potem ne delamo nobene prakse več.
So that says when we have a new sense of faith is like that, and then as you get older, all of this fades away.
Ko smo starejši, vse to zbledi.
Maybe it's also when your faith gets older. It's not really when you get older. Like after a while, when your faith disappears, then you kind of give up everything.
To zaupanje, ta vera zbledi, takrat potem opustimo vse prakse.
So there are many different Yidam practices, and some people want to practice them all.
Zaščitnih božanstv, in nekateri ljudje hočejo delati prakse vseh božanstv.
But what actually this shows is that we do not have trust or confidence in one Yidam. That's why we do many different ones.
Zato hočemo delati veliko različnih praks.
So this happens. So if we don't have trust or confidence in one Yidam, then we practice many different ones. But at the end, we might end up having no confidence in all of them.
Ampak potem ne bomo na koncu imeli zaupanja v nobeno od teh božanstv.
So he says in Tibet it's a little bit strange sometimes. It is like he's saying if my right hand hurts, then this yidam will help for that. And then when my left hand starts hurting, then another yidam will be good for this.
In če me leva roka boli, bo pomagalo drugo božanstvo.
Di lakpa le pengi yidam tegirwa, di lakpa di chobiyo na, di lakpa yomba di chob madu vijam tega.
But actually, if we say that if one yidam deity can help for one of our hands, how can it not help for the other?
Božanstvo pomaga za levo roko, kako ne bi potem pomagalo tudi za drugo desno roko.
Nepal chasona, o tang yebarda mencho sagores, jodengores. Tenia parche lao chongsona, Guru Rinpoche yana tarachi chegores, riba. Tati karil samja ko khensaji yordadi. Karisan tanga Nepal chasona alengandi pachi doma tembena pachi takta doma ngachep thugi sumares. Ngala parche chongwaina pachi sanje mena tiki ngala takta pachi jitugi sumares.
Because in a way it is true, when we get sick, then we practice medicine Buddha. When we have obstacles, then we practice Tara or Guru Rinpoche. So in a way it's okay to think like that, but on the other hand, how can we think that when I'm sick, Tara is not able to help me? Or when I have obstacles, medicine Buddha will not be able to remove them?
Da mi ne more pomagati Tara, ali pa da kadar imamo vire, zakaj jih ne bi mogel odstraniti tudi Buddha medicine.
But actually it seems the problem is more not in the capacity of the deity to protect us, but the problem is more in our trust and confidence in the deity being able to protect us.
Da nas lahko božanstvo zaščiti.
So jagala plachi drup sona saman drup dos. Choso pela plagia drup ne tatu plachi drup.
So once there was one Indian master who came to Tibet, and he said to the Tibetans, in India we practice one deity and we accomplish all of them. And here in Tibet you practice 100 deity and accomplish none of them.
In potem pridemo do realizacije, do uresničenja. Vi pa prakticirate 100 božanstv in ne pridete do uresničitve niti enega. To ne pomeni, da so kakšna nasprotja med prakso različnih božanstv.
But actually what it shows is that we don't have some kind of wholehearted devotion to
one srcem, nobeni praksi, nobeni določeni praksi.
So he's not saying that if we practice one deity we're not allowed to practice any other, or if we practice one deity the others will not like it.
Božanstvo, potem ne smemo prakticirati druge božanstva, ali da bo drugo božanstvo nezadovoljno s tem.
So he says so it shows it's like in the worldly sense, if we need something, then if we say to one person, can you help me to that? And then you say to another person, can you also help me to do that? What this shows is that you don't trust the first person of being able to do it. That's why you say to the second person, can you also help me to do that? But if you trust the first person, you don't need to say to another person, right?
Iskati pomoči še pri drugem človeku.
So then the text continues, whenever you find a new friend, you value their life more than your own. Once your enthusiasm fades away, you'll be upset with them as if they were your enemy. The root of all of this is not taking your own mind to be paramount.
vaši sovražniki in izvor vsega tega je to, da niste obvladali svojega uma ali niste razumeli, da je najbolj pomembno obvladati svoj um.
So then the next section is talking about the benefits of having control of our own mind. So it says if you're able to make use of your mind, then you don't need to search for some other place of retreat. When concepts are absent, that is your retreat. You don't need to search outside for the guru. The nature of mind is the enlightened guru. You don't need to worry about other spiritual practices to be done. Being without distraction is the heart of spiritual practice. You don't need to deliberately abandon distractions. If your mindfulness is firm, things are spontaneously liberated. You don't need to fear that afflictions will occur. If you recognize their nature, it is primordial wisdom. Except for this momentary mind of yours, samsara and nirvana are not established as anything else. Please always watch over the mind. So if we're able to watch over our mind in all circumstances, then this is how we will experience everything. But as long as we are not able to watch over our mind all the time and completely, then it is not true that we don't need to search for some other place of retreat. While as long as we're not able to control our mind all the time, then we need places, external places of retreat also.
Potrebujemo tudi zunanje okoliščine, da gremo lahko v meditativno osamo.
Because also sometimes it says if we're not, it says if you're able to make use of your mind, it's make use or control your mind, maybe it's the right word. So if we're not able to control our mind, then even if we are in retreat, it's not going to be beneficial. So first of all, we have to start by controlling our mind.
Torej začeti moramo s tem, da obvladamo svoj um, ukrotimo svoj um.
So Rinpoche says what he feels is the real practice of Dharma is to put some effort to allocate some time every morning and every evening to use our mind for the practice of Dharma, and in this way to train our mind to become one with the Dharma. And he says, Rinpoche says he doesn't feel that practicing Dharma is only done in the temple or sitting in a particular posture. It is about what we do with our mind. So some people ask him, is it okay if I practice meditation in my bedroom, or do I need a special shrine room to be able to practice meditation? So he says, we do not need to think like that. Some people even ask him, am I allowed to recite the mantras while I go to the toilet? So Rinpoche usually answers, I don't know what to say, but usually I keep reciting them.
Ampak ponavadi tudi sam, ko grem na stranišče, nadaljujem z recitacijo mantre.
bedroom de ngala sha chimba me don de ma to chesa me don de che go ya ta chimbo re su chegin san de konon de yabo yin tan kawala chena kadi chena di wa.
So actually it all depends on our meditation,
sorry,
on our motivation. If we think, yes, I want to practice meditation, doesn't matter where I am, I want to do my best, then even the bedroom is the right place to practice it. Anywhere is the good place. So it all depends on our motivation, on wishing not to waste time, wishing not to waste our lives, then we are able to practice anywhere, anytime.
Življenje, če imamo tako motivacijo, potem lahko delamo prakso kjerkoli in kadarkoli.
So some people even think it's not appropriate to make a shrine in the bedroom, to put statues there, or in the kitchen, or like this. It's not appropriate to make offerings there, or like this. So again, it's not about the place, it's about our motivation, why we want to make a shrine.
Naša motivacija, zakaj hočemo imeti oltar, če naša motivacija je pravilna, potem je kjerkoli naredimo oltar, to dobro.
공부 가르생이 지어다 민데 제마서 거기 들라서기 조지가 도도와 조지가 도대 가서 되네 거기 랍도와 때 거기 배 덤보 차첼다 소모나 야보잡 땡아다다 저랑 꼬라카시 잡고도스 근데 이제 나들 한국도 라인 되는 거 되게 좀 야시와 근데 딜라야 샤인 사람들이.
So there was one guy from Kompo in Tibet who went for pilgrimage in Lhasa. So he came in front of the Buddha Shakyamuni statue, and then he said to the statue, you know, I came from very far, now I want to do some circumambulations around you, but actually I don't know where to put my shoes because they might get stolen, so he says, please look over my shoes. Then he put his shoes in the lap of Buddha Shakyamuni statue, and then he went to do some kora.
V naročje Budi, da mu jih pazi in je šel narediti en krog okoli templa kot duhovno prakso.
So it shows that he had pure devotion, but also he had a very strong trust that actually the Joe Shakyamuni statue is like alive, you know, is somebody who can protect his shoes. He did not see the statue as a piece of rock or whatever it is, you know. So it shows that his motivation was pure.
In to kaže, da je imel čisto motivacijo.
And in the end, he didn't lose his shoes.
In na koncu
and he really accumulated merit by doing circumambulations in that way.
Tudi naredil je veliko pozitivno dejanje s tem, da je obkrožil tempelj.
It seems he was somebody who was kind of like very devoted, but sometimes maybe stupid.
Ampak mogoče ne prav pameten.
So on another occasion he was again walking around and it started raining and he saw one clay statue there in the rain, and then he felt that the rain is going to damage the statue. So again what he did, he took off his shoes and he put them on the head of the statue to protect it from the rain.
Dež bi poškodoval tisti kipec, zato je vzel čevlje in jih poveznil na kipec, da bi ga zaščitil pred dežem.
Lama Celoten jila ta keja do jungi sara ti lama Celoten de songles ta teri Lhasa na mi sonam chesho de chaje de wala korang lam genge ji mi ji dos ta ti sonam chesho mi de.
So then on that day somebody asked one very great master in Lhasa in Tibet. He asked him, who is the person who accumulated the biggest... These days, okay, not exactly on that day, but around that time somebody asked a Lama,
vprašal,
so who is the person who accumulated the biggest amount of merit recently? And then this Lama answered, it is this guy who was walking around and who took off his shoes and put them on the head of the Buddha statue to protect it from the rain.
Zato, da bi ga zaščitil pred dežjem. On je zbral največ zaslug.
Because his mind was very pure.
Njegov je bil zelo čist.
So the state of mind is
zato je stanje uma zelo pomembno.
So that's why devotion is very important.
Zato je predanost zelo pomembna.
So today we will leave it here.
Zato danes bomo zaključili tukaj za danes.
And we will continue tomorrow.
Nadaljevali bomo jutri.
So tomorrow morning we can also try to do some meditation together. That
zjutraj
would be good.
Bomo skupaj tudi lahko meditirali, to bi bilo dobro.
In this session Rinpoche had a lot to say, so we didn't get a chance
Sedaj smo imeli, Rinpoche je veliko moral povedati, zato nismo imeli časa meditirati.
It's probably really, that's why it is important that when you're among many, watch your mouth.
Ko si v množici, paziš na svoj govor, da si pozoren na svoj govor.
Yes, now we do the dedication.
Posvetitev.
Samaya Manubalaya Benzarasado Tenopa Titra Ridome Bava Suto Kayo Me Bava Anutayo Me Bava Anurato Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Metraya Sarva Karma Sutsa Me Tsitam Shiriya Kuro Ha Ha Ho Bhagave Sarva Tata Gata Benzarama Me Munza Benzir Bava Maha Samaya Sato A.
Hvala.
Okay, thank you. So Rinpoche says now you all have the text in your phone, so it would be very good if you can read the whole text at least one time tonight, and tomorrow maybe at the beginning of the session we can read it again.
In potem ga lahko jutri zjutraj na začetku spet še enkrat preberemo.
Because now we went through this text, we went through part of this, and you all understand the text, so it is very beneficial to read it again, and you will notice the difference.
Še enkrat preberete in opazili boste razliko ko ga boste ponovno prebrali.
So all these instructions in this text are they have a very practical benefit in our life, so it is good to keep them in our mind.
Zato si jih je dobro zapomniti.